just a case study in practice of the approach we've taken using behavioural science, but also in a real world experience where we know life is messy. And so how do you use it? How do you understand how to use the different approaches and make it make sense? And also, how do you do it at scale? So if I explain, we're going to talk about Beat the Street, have the thread of inclusion going through it, because that's how we designed it from the start, but also try and understand some of how we've applied it and what the approach we've taken to try and do something at scale and with joy to completely try and flip the narrative for people's health and well-being. So Beat the Street started as a walk to school programme many years ago, in sort of 2010, 2011, for the Olympics. It was part of, I think, the Olympic Legacy programme. And as soon as it started, we realised that people experienced it much broader than encouraging children to walk to school actively, and how it literally tapped into something much broader and developed. And so we've been on quite a journey over the last sort of 10 years or so, trying to understand what its impact is and how to really support it. So we've really noticed that and paid attention. And one of the things that was really interesting was the impact of children's behaviour on adults' behaviour. It was a children-led programme to start with, but one of the things we noticed were that people were actually thoroughly enjoying it as adults, and they were improving their behaviour. So we expanded it in about 2013-14 to support a whole community, and looking at the lens through inactivity as well as active travel. And we started working with Sport England, who've been working on tackling inactivity for the same amount of time. And we didn't stop there. We then realised as well that it actually supported so many of the multiple challenges that councils and residents are experiencing, whether that's kind of ill health, inequalities and climate change, that they're all interlinked. And they're wicked problems, as people often say. And we kind of, alongside that, you've got how do we try and improve behaviour, which we're all working on. And tackling individual behaviour is really complicated in this world of challenges where you have the commercial determinants of health, you've got social determinants of health. And actually, one of the things you find that we're at risk of is when you individualise a behaviour or a person and try and change that, you can give them too many messages. As the previous speakers talked about, you have information overload. I know on my feeds, you receive so many top tips, how many hacks, how to live better, sleep better. It's all a bit overwhelming and actually quite off-putting for people. So we need to understand those health behaviours and also the type 1 and type 2, but really think about how do we flip this? How do we use that to flip it and take a completely different approach and do something much bigger that helps people make the change themselves and feel part of doing that? So we have been looking at it about how you do it at a population level scale. One of the areas that we really focus on is inactivity, and the problem is 1/3 of adults and less than 1/2 of children don't meet the current physical activity guidelines. This has been an intractable issue and much worse for those facing inequalities. So due to the size of the issue, they're often marginalised because it's such big numbers we're dealing with. And so we understand the problem, but that doesn't necessarily help us deal with it. And there are so many different organisations, parts of teams working on this problem. So whether that's public health, sport and recreation, active travel, health, education, environmental work, and they've all got their own different approaches, but we're talking to the same people. So we kind of need to think about how do we do that step change in impact and reach, and to bring all those partners together so we can really do something. It's some kind of shared narrative. So we need to think creatively. We need to imagine a world where people can move in a healthier as a result. So try and think about the state we want to achieve rather than where we're sat. And that's the approach that we've taken. So I'm going to go through it. But what I wanted to do first, because our work is really about helping people do feel the change. So I'm going to try and bring my slides in. Now, let me see. Can anyone see these appear? Now, what I'm concerned about is I've come in through it. Brilliant. Thanks, everyone. I've come in through a different way, Ruth. So I'm not 100% sure my sound is going to work. So let me know if it doesn't.
Okay.
I might have to sing it for you all. So as you said, Beat the Street is the starting line for everyone. So if we're taking that equity approach, how do we do it where everyone is invited to play? I'm going to try and share this video with you now, but let's see. So this was something that was produced by Wakefield Council, not by us, but they ran Beat the Street programme. I think this one was last year, just in a small ward in Featherstone. And I've got two things for you to notice. One is the different audiences that they've platformed taking part in the programme. And if you can hear it, what is the music? What's the seminal movie that the music is based on? There you go. So I hope you can manage to see and hear that. So has anyone popped in the chat what the movie was?
Yeah, Katherine.
Train spotting, absolutely. Fortunately, the outcomes for those people taking part is increase in physical activity rather than the descent you see in the real train spotting. But it's just lovely how powerful that was. And please pop in the chat if anyone's worked on Beat the Street before or heard of it. But the thing that we were that you can see in that they've done is about just how wide ranging the audience is. It was across the place, all different ages, abilities. I love the teenage girl who just says it's all right. But it's a really, really powerful way of saying it. And you see what it is about the whole community taking part. So what you see in that is not what changes, what's different from people. I hope you can start to see what the approach that we've taken is about what unites us. So what have those people all got together, got in common? So the first thing is they're all humans, they're all social beings. We operate within a society and we're all deeply social. The other thing is that we have the same shared public space. We live in a world together. And that could be a neighbourhood, a street, a set of flats, but we occupy and use shared space. And how can we do that stronger and more purposefully? So our kind of philosophy is not about delivering exercise, not about tackling inactivity or increasing active travel, but about the social architecture. using behavioural science to support people to connect to each other and to their place. And we've kind of got a sort of, our mission is to kind of build the foundations of a healthy society through helping people foster those sense of connections, trust and belonging. So we're focusing on the pillars of community health. So belonging, connecting people to their neighbours; safety, improving the perception and understanding of use safe spaces; and value, ensuring people feel seen in their environment. And inclusivity from the start really helps that happen. And one of the things we'd say is that Beat the Street uses relational centred design over person centred. So it looks at ways to bring people together and for them to experience what it feels like. Physical activity is the lever, and we're focusing on connection through movement. And that really helps us shift it from individual behaviours and what are their barriers to what is the assets and what can we do to help them. Supporting that notion that we're social creatures and we inhabit the same space. And I think one of the things that we probably can feel is whether in the physical and digital space, too often we kind of build character types when in real life it's much more complicated than that. I also passionately believe that we learn really well through play. Our lives have become really formalised and digitised, and that we have to re-engineer time to come together. And we know children have disappeared from our streets and into an online world, but I think adults have too. And as I said, one of the things we noticed when the programme first started is by the children playing, it gave permission for the adults to come out too. And we've spent a lot of time really nurturing that. And, you know, we can all feel how much we live on digital platforms, how we can shop online, chat to friends on platforms, but we're missing those physical connections. And that's where you think of things like the creative health work that the Arts Council have been doing, the Sport England work about using sport for social good. It's really powerful because that can connect us. So for us, it was, how could we do that at scale? How could we do it with joy? And also, really importantly, for all the commissioners that we're working with, how do we evidence it? How do we show that this actually has impact? So we're working with councils, with the NHS, with transport partners, public health, and we know they've all got huge challenges to your budgets. You need to manage risk, and there's a breakdown, honestly, sometimes between trust between our state institutions and our residents, and so there's a risk that putting on something big might be a challenge. So how do we do that? So we need to create a possible world where we can come together, where we can see what's strong in our relationships and what our public spaces do have, instead of this negative narrative of we're all going to the dogs, the country's going to the dogs. What do we have? There's amazing, incredible parks and green spaces. How do we connect people to those and see their world, change the narrative slightly? So just to give you a little sample of that, I want you to think for the next 20 seconds, imagine a world that you would like to be in 10 years' time. So we're talking about the NHS having a 10-year plan. What is it that we want to see in 10 years? Imagine yourself. What kind of place do you want to be sat in? Who do you want to be sat with? What sounds would you like to be hearing? Just imagine that for the next 10 seconds. Now, I can't see the chat, but feel free to pop something in about what you're imagining. I did this a while ago, and something came through very strongly. There was bird song, there was green space, there were people with their friends, maybe having a picnic, that kind of thing. It's really, really powerful. And what you don't tend to get are people saying, I want to be in a traffic jam in 10 years' time. I want to be inhaling fumes. I want to be on my own, on my screen. The world we kind of imagine is a world which has the connection, and you are outdoors and active typically. It's a possible world. So Beat the Street, we try to help make people see and experience that where they live, work and play. So it's a community game. It uses gamification and it propels change. There's a really strong theory of change that sits behind it, and I can share that in the information afterwards. And the inputs in that theory of change are people, place and purpose. So for the people, it's mass engagement. We typically now engage 12% of the population, and the residents are the participants of the game. Half are children, half are adults. It's very inclusive. It reaches across demographics and over indexes often. The second part is its place. So it's a major event for a place. It's in people's streets, it's in their parks, it's on their high streets, it's on their canalways. It's not remote, it's not digital, it's in place, it's physical, and most importantly, it's free. And they are all invited to play, and they are actively invited, and we spend quite a lot of time on the marketing and messaging, as you'd all understand, to make people feel welcome, that that's for them. And finally, it's about purpose. It's a collective challenge to explore, connect and play their way. It's a narrative that positions a place as a thriving, connected, nature positive place that people can step into. I don't know if you saw recently, there was a wonderful post from Hannah the plumber after Gorton and Denton by-election, and she did a piece about the flags in Gorton and Denton, and her view was, as a tradesperson, how well put up the flags were, how well aligned they were. So someone had taken pride, and she said, I need that person to come and help me build the fences, to help mend the community. I need you to work with me. It was really inviting people in. So at its core, Beat the Street's a real life game set where people
No, you've made her attendee.
Hello, hi everyone. Sorry, Katherine was talking and then she got changed. So I think, let me just check. I'll bring her back.
Hang on, sorry.
Are you in, Katherine?
I am, yes. I don't know what happened.
Honestly, it is like I am awake, aren't I?
Where did I get to? I was quite happily chatting.
And you were doing brilliant, and it's like a nightmare because it's everything that could go wrong is going wrong. So Katherine, you were just saying how brilliant Beat the Street is.
Okay. Well, I was still saying that. So the at its core, did you hear me say about at its core? It's like a game. Yes, Pokemon Go. So, and it's all built on behavioural approaches, but not religiously kept. It's understanding what they are, how to work, and then testing them. And one of the benefits we have is that when we play the game in a place, we've got 25,000 people playing at the moment. A couple of places in Cornwall, we're in Sunderland, we're in Colchester. Everyone wants to tell us what they think of the game and how to improve it. So we get unbelievable real time feedback on what's happening. But we use information at the back. So we use the EAST framework, which is one of my favorites, checking whether something, a rule, a message, an explanation is easy, attractive, timely, simple. That's really crucial. We use the trans-theoretical theory of change, which is a series of stages of where people are in terms of their readiness, ability to act. And COM-B, capability, opportunity and motivation. We do lots of stuff about social norming. What we're trying to do is we want the morning of the game to feel like Christmas morning, where the kids are running out with their cards, excited, seeing other people, chatting to each other, feeling like something's happened in their place. So that social norm is vital to get that energy to make people feel they can make the change. And also, these are all frameworks we use, but I say they're flexible. And I just wanted to share my new favourite framework, which Ruth and I heard at a conference in Alicante last November. And I actually think, I basically sat in the conference going, oh, we do this, because a lot of the work we're doing is about positive reinforcement messaging. We want people to have the agency to make the change themselves. So we're trying to create the conditions rather than make them do the work and we take the credit for it. It's theirs. They're the ones that are making the change. So this is called boosting. And boosting is different from nudging. So nudging is really useful. It's a great technique, and it's very good for immediate unconscious changes. So we know about in a supermarket, putting the healthier bit, removing the chocolate, that kind of thing. However, and I've always felt maybe controversially that it can be a little bit paternalistic, and a little bit deficit based, that we're saying that people are, and we know there's different attitudes to people, but that is something that I think we use nudging, but we're just aware of that it can go that way. Whereas boosting, on the other side, aligns with kind of our overall asset-based approach. It's about building health literacy and building self-efficacy. And Beat the Street works as a long-term boost by providing the skills, the knowledge, the agency for people to do the change themselves. They've done it. They've discovered their park. They've taken their child to school on their scooter. They've taught them to ride a bike for the first time. They've helped it. We've just created the conditions for it. And they also see others doing it, being off screens together, making positive memories. Much of our language uses that positive reinforcement. So I loved the fact that we found that framework, and we're definitely bringing it in more. And I think it's a wonderful concept and a really asset-based positive thing that you want people to be able to step into it. A prevention is a negative of something. How do you create the possible world where something happens and they own that's something you can be really proud of? Stopping something is hard to celebrate. Starting something and being part of something is really positive. So Beat the Street works. I can see some people have said they've been part of it, which is wonderful. We've actually had 2 million participants through the programme now in over 200 different places. We've got a national programme in England with Sport England, but also we've worked for over 10 years in Scotland through active travel, really strong relationships with Paths for All and the councils there, and a sparkle of European programmes. And we're going to be going to Holland again in September. And as I said, we've had 25,000 people already in the programme today, all out in the sunshine, hopefully tapping. And the funding, I mentioned, we come from councils, from public health, transport, NHS, sport, voluntary sector, environment. We bring them all together before a game to work on understanding how the programme works. And then people play by walking around the area, tapping the boxes. I think I won't go into too much of the detail of the game itself, because I can see we're a bit over time, Reese. But the couple of things I just wanted to share. So on the evaluation, am I all right for a couple more minutes to talk about inclusion? Yeah. So the magic happens when people take the game themselves. They're setting up mums walking groups, after school events with the kids, community groups coming together and playing, a men's mental health charity, a litter pick. All of the different things are being activated in the place. So it's not an intervention on something, it's about boosting all of the amazing things that happen. And that means the impact is really powerful and it sits across everything. So we have when people sign up for the programme, it's free, but they register to take part, and they give attitudinal data on how they feel about their place, but also on their health, their physical activity. And we provide that survey at the end of the game, 6, sometimes 12 months later. And we've got really strong evidence of behaviour change on health, on how they feel about their place, their increase in trust, increase in active travel. And also we provide this incredible community voice where 1 in 8 residents in a place are telling us how they feel. And we've been able to use that then with partners to make practical action in policy going forward. And obviously making sure that it has that equity in there. So finally, I just wanted to say that in 2024, we worked with the Activity Alliance and a disability charity to review the programme. So I said we built it from the start to make sure the boxes beeped and flashed. They were the right height to be equitable. The position of them was, and the inclusion, the logo is representative across the population. But we wanted to see what else we could do. So we brought them in and they were fantastic. They reviewed the programme. They thought it was strong, but they had some extra suggestions. So one of them was an accessibility icon on the map, more visible beat boxes, and the provision for special educational needs schools to have beat boxes within their school grounds. And we've been very strong about not putting the beat boxes into areas that others couldn't access. But this was a clear call to action that actually it was inevitable for children in SEND schools because they weren't able to leave and off and be able to do this walking. So we put those in. We created a separate leaderboard for SEND schools, and now each programme typically will have a SEND leaderboard with a winning team who then come to the event, the celebration event, who are celebrated, and they really are very proud to feel part of it. So looking at the impact that had, there was a meta study done of Beat the Streets impact over 2 years, looking at 408,000 people who played in 48 games, half adults, half children, 40% from the most deprived areas, 20% adults with a long-term condition, 4% with a disability. And returning to that study, there was a decrease in inactivity amongst all participants. For adults specifically, it was a 7.5% decrease in inactivity, whereas for those with a disability, it was a 12% decrease in inactivity, and those with a mental health condition, 14.5%. So the greatest impact was on those who may be facing the greatest inequalities, but everybody is allowed to take part. So I think that's the thing I wanted to finish with. And then for Stop, Start and Steal, just to say as well that that's one of the reasons we're able to share that for every pound invested, it generates £34 in social value. So that is a call to action to be bold and brave and do something at scale. And the Stop, Start and Steal, we've got stop just looking at the individual, try relation-centered design. It's really powerful. The web of connections between people, communities and their environment, and that makes a big difference with how you think about things. Start boosting, have a look at it. Stefan Herzog is the person I've given the links to Ruth. Try boosting as an asset-based approach. And also take a pragmatic approach to behaviour change methods. Be flexible, curious, test with your audience, and steal. A big thing I'd like to say is create health. Don't focus just on prevention, stopping behaviour, but accentuate the positive action and imagine the positive outcome that you want. And thank you.
Thank you so much, Katherine. That's absolutely brilliant. Could you do your Stop, Start, Steal again? Could you say them again for everyone?
Yes. Hang on. Do you want me to try and share the slides?
I think so, because they're so powerful. And because basically Katherine actually does what we talk about. You're actually shifting towards creating health rather than looking at the problems in health, trying to stop the problems or a symptom or just one silo agenda. It's that holistic shift towards what is health. And I think it's so powerful, and boosting is incredible. Yeah, thank you.
That?
Yeah, love it. Oh, I've thrown my pen around. Love it, love it, love it. And we will get links to you all on Boost. Do we have any we can give in this webinar? We could pop them in the chat, Katherine.
Yeah, I've got them here, so I can.
Brilliant.
I'll pop them all into the.
We'll put them in a moment. I cannot. Yeah, I think we need to do more on Boost. And when we first started designing this, it was actually about Boost, wasn't it? We were saying, right, let's just push Boost, because Nudge came in, and it's kind of Marmite, but Boost is such a way to do inclusion. So we're talking about inclusion today. Using the Boost framework is a way to do it. So thank you so much for bringing that up. And if you're thinking, okay, what is Boost, Ruth? Well, Boost is Beat the Street, because you've been doing this naturally. So it's that shift towards creation health. With questions coming in, let's just see. Is there anyone who wants, because you're on, we're in sort of meeting mode now. Is there anyone who wants to jump on and ask Katherine a question? And I'm just having a look there. There's a big question. Yeah, so Katherine, you've got quite a few questions in there about wanting to know more about it and pick it up with you.
So should I do those in the chat while you carry on?
Yeah,
so
and I see Debbie's picked them up. So thank you for that, Debbie. So just for time, and thank you for catching up, Katherine, being so calm like a swan. Thank you so much for sharing that today. Beat the Street is incredible, everyone. Just please go and have a look. Even if it's not your agenda, your portfolio, look at it to be inspired. So much to take away. We'll move straight into Elizabeth now. Thank you, Catherine. Elizabeth, are you there? It's like
Yes, I
Eurovision.
am.
Calling Elizabeth.
I'm here.
Aha, can you pop yourself on speaker? Oh,
They
sorry,
can
on
hear me.
video. I'm just going to move it.